Welcome back. You're still with us here on Markets Today Talk Back. 35 points higher on the Nifty, but the broader market faring pretty poorly. Prakash Devan and Ashwini Gujral are with us, and they've been answering your questions. We got through 3 of the 5 stories that we get to you every day, so let's move on to the 4th headline of the day. Nifty Bank underperformed benchmark indices after investor sentiment soured on 2 factors. One, the fear of exposure to DHFL, and second, the NCLAT's judgment in the SR Steel case. Among other things, the NCLAT has effectively given operational creditors as much rights as financial creditors, thus weakening the hope of debt recovery. I mean, this is continuing to weigh, isn't it, Lata?
Yeah, I would think so. See, already you have a DHFL worry on the NBFCs. Although everyone knows that bankers have about 40 to 50% of the total exposure to DHFL, they are not counting the securitized loans. Now, you know, the bankers would have done due diligence before buying those loans, but now the fear is also becoming as to how much of a haircut will they have to take, since non-institutional bondholders, it may be difficult to administer a haircut to the individual debenture holders. Probably a bulk will fall on the banks. There are all kinds of worries with respect to DHFL, but this NCLT and NCLAT saying that operational creditors should get a fair share. In the NCLT pronouncement on IL&FS, they said just because the Provident Fund debt is unsecured, you can't give them a poor deal because PF guys are vulnerable. And in the NCLAT judgment for SR Steel, they said that you can't just give liquidation value to operational shareholders, operational creditors. You have to give them 40%. So that means whatever you were expecting from all these IBC cases is now reducing by a good deal, by 40%. So all those worries are crowding out, are worrying investors of finance, both PSUs as well as NBFCs.
Okay, well, we've got a question. Sandeep Kumar has written in with a question on State Bank of India. He holds 4,000 shares of the bank. His purchase price is 155 a share, and he wants to know if he should continue to hold or sell. Prakash.
Yeah, so this is a classical situation, Prashant, where the next question as an advisor would be, what is it as a percentage of his overall portfolio? You know, on an absolute basis, at 155, and we are almost more than double of that, 355, 360 is a great level to see. But whether such a significant exposure to a bank and banking as a whole makes sense, that he has to check with his advisor. But on SBI particularly, my view is it's probably been the most resilient of all the banks across private and public sector. And if there's any positive trigger that the government comes up with on banking, I think SBI will definitely see another wave of re-rating. And, you know, all the selling, the weak hands getting out and all, which we saw around the 300 zone, is making the stock sit on a very nice cushion. It doesn't just come down, even if a BOB gets impacted, a PNB gets impacted, but this is resilient as ever. So I think he should hold on. He's got a good pick at a good level. Ashwini can probably help us with some what is called trailing stop losses to kind of, make sure that he doesn't lose out on the upside.
Actually, I thought I'll ask something more broader to Ashwini. Ashwini, how are you looking at the Nifty Bank itself? And okay, I'm not tying you down to SBI. Any banks or NBFCs where you will recommend trading?
See, Bank Nifty, it's quite overvalued in terms of its constituents, and now private banks are coming off strongly. Earlier it was only PSU banks. So I would think that banks like RBL, IndusInd, Axis, HDFC Bank is probably used more for manipulation. But the other private banks, these are coming off. So my sense is that Bank Nifty will now underperform for a bit till, the private banks bottom out.
Okay, Ashwini, thanks very much. Well, we move on to the last story of the day then. Stocks and news. Shares of Avenue Supermarts rallied on the back of strong first quarter results. Profit jumped by 34%, while EBITDA margins came in at record high levels. Mangalam is here with a quick snapshot of the numbers. Mangalam.
Indeed, Avenue Supermarts did well in trade today. Good numbers coming in. 27% growth in the company's top line was good, but what really took one's breath away was the 41% jump that we saw in the company's operational profits, and as a result of which the EBITDA margins came in at 10.3%, matched its previous record high of 10.3% as well. The street was working with a 100 basis points decline, whereas the company went ahead and posted a 100 basis points jump. And as a result of which, we saw the net profit jump by around 34% as well. Not just that though, the management tempered down the expectations for the future quarters by saying that the first quarter should not be extrapolated to the next few quarters in regard with the margins as well as store openings, which were a function of some spillovers coming in as well. And despite today's up move and receding about 20% from its 52-week high, the stock trades at 61 times FY20 earnings. So the valuations are punchy, may keep a lid on future gains of this stock.
Wow, 61 times is a lot. We have a question from a viewer. Nevin Cletus has written that he has been holding 500 shares of the company purchased at 1100 rupees a piece. Wants to know if he should hold or sell. Prakash?
So I know, 60 times, 61 times sounds really difficult to justify for anybody to buy afresh. But somebody who's bought in at 1100, I don't think, again, there's really much to worry. But having said that, we also need to realize today's move in Avenue is more of a catch-up of whatever receding, trend that we'd seen in the last 2 quarters. And as very clearly the management is warning us that, don't just put this to the next 2 quarters and say, hey, we're going to grow at 27% and very soon PEG is going to look at 38 or 40 times, which a lot of new notes have started floating around today. But today's move for Avenue was kind of justified because it was playing catch-up. My sense is it will probably stabilize at close to about 1730 zones, which is 1 year forward, it probably is at about 42 times. So that's the kind of ballpark number. And remember, other retail players are finding it really tough to grow, and then that's an environment where market share also kind of starts coming in their favor. So the answer is hold on. You bought it 1100, so just stay put till at least 17.
Okay. Piramal Enterprises is the next stock in focus today. The stock soared in trade to close 7% higher on reports that Sachin Bansal of Flipkart has invested 200 crore rupees in the company. Prashant, you know more about this?
No, I think there are only 2 new pieces of information, Lata, about Piramal. One, of course, is this investment by Sachin Bansal, which reportedly has been made. Sachin Bansal, of course, is the co-founder of Flipkart. He sold his stake. When the company got sold to Walmart, he made more than $1 billion. And he's put a lot of money to work in corporate debt. Almost 800, 900 crores in aggregate. That's what reports suggest. And 200 crores has gone into Piramal Enterprises issued debt, which I think more than anything else is just a sign of confidence. And this is an individual investor putting in 200 crores. So the market would perceive it as someone who would have done a fair bit of due diligence before committing to so much money in one company, in one company's debt. NCDs are the instrument in this case. The second piece of information was CRISIL essentially assigning the highest rating to a debt issued by Piramal Capital and Housing Finance. That is essentially a step-down subsidiary of Piramal Enterprises, the holding company, and the housing finance business, etc., rests in that particular company. That came in late last week. So these are the 2 new pieces of information. The other one is, of course, this, and this is a story that we broke here on the 21st of June this year, that SoftBank, along with another large investor, is in very advanced stages of talks with Piramal to put money in. And the amount of money could be anything between $500 and $700 million, could actually even exceed that. And by the way, that money, as we had reported, will most likely come into Piramal Capital and Housing Finance. So the step-down subsidiary of the company. So the money is coming into Piramal Enterprises and not some demerged entity. Other newspapers and publications have followed up on our news break, and the new piece of information, I think, which I think market is kind of has got to know, is that maybe Reliance Jio may tie up with Piramal Enterprises in some way to tap into the consumer fintech side of things. So that is a new piece of information. As far as the SoftBank investment is concerned, I am still told that it is at least a few weeks away before something can be actually signed to the dotted line. Lata.
And the latter part on Jio is not our story. We heard it in other news organizations, and we have not been able to independently confirm it. But let's just finish one more stocks in news before we go to our guests. Future Enterprises tanked in trade today, closing 5% in the red. The stock stumbled after the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence arrested the company's CFO, Dinesh Maheshwari, for allegedly evading taxes worth about 14.5 crore rupees. And there's one more stock.
Well, Sun Pharma is that other stock. It also made the list of big gainers today. The stock closed 4% in the green after Morgan Stanley upgraded the stock to overweight. Ekta is here with what Morgan is saying. Ekta.
Well, yes, it is a double upgrade which has come in for Sun Pharma from Morgan Stanley all the way to overweight. Sun is now their top pick with this upgrade. The target price stands at 505 versus 470. According to them, Sun's earnings and stock price both are at multi-year lows. They expect a revival of earnings FY21 onwards based on steady growth in the base business coupled with plateauing of current elevated cost structure. The US specialty business is a free optionality according to them. Potential upside from the psoriasis drug Ilumya, which is a part of their specialty business, is not priced in according to Morgan Stanley, and the market is focused on challenges with Ilumya more than the possibilities from it.
Okay, well, you have the pick of the pack. Any stock you want to comment on? We would prefer Piramal, but anything you want to comment?
Piramal, it is. So I think, as Prashant said, while there have been a lot of positive, news flow that's been contributing to this so-called change of mood for the company. One interesting trigger could also be once they raise capital and are okay with the NBFC growth story. Remember, they've also been silently talking about, at times infrequently talking about a acquisition in the pharma space. And if they were to start reviving that, and that will also be part of the holdco in this case.
Okay.
So you could have lots of positive stuff happening. Don't write this off so easily.
Okay.
Keep it on your watch.
All right. Unfortunately, out of time, Prakash. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching us for On Markets today and for participating with your questions.